Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're jumping into some pretty heavy stuff today. The fallout from the election, and I know for a lot of you out there, this wasn't what you were hoping for. So there's this a lot of fear and uncertainty just kind of floating around.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it makes sense to feel that way. Elections can really get to people,
Yeah,
especially when you feel like the results matter, personally.
for sure. And we see that a lot in those forum posts you sent over. There's this I don't know, real sense of despair, grief even,
Mm.
from people who feel like their values, like everything they believe in, is under attack.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge those feelings. They're real and they're valid. But this is where Abraham Hicks can give us a different way to look at it. We're not going to get all political or anything. It's more about how to deal with this emotionally and finding peace, even when we don't get what we want.
Okay, so how do we do that? I mean, how does Abraham Hicks how do they approach something like an election result?
Yeah.
It's pretty set in stone, right?
Well, they have this core principle. It's this idea that wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. You've probably heard it before, but it's really important, like fundamental to understanding how we actually create our own reality.
Right? It's so easy to get stuck like doom scrolling after something like this.
Right.
But wait, is Abraham Hicks saying to just ignore what's happening?
Yeah.
Like pretend everything is fine?
No, no, no. It's not about denying reality or anything like that. It's about realizing that we have a choice. We can choose where our energy goes. If we just focus on what we don't like, the things we're afraid of, we're just giving those things more energy, more power.
So instead of getting stuck on the what is, like Abraham Hicks says, which I mean feels pretty bad right now,
Yeah.
we shift our focus to what?
Exactly, to what we want. That's where things get really interesting. They're not saying to just think positive and everything will magically work out, though. It's deeper than that. They want us to really think about the feelings we want to have, no matter what's going on outside of us.
Can you give me an example? Like, how would someone, especially those who are really upset about the election, how would they use this?
Sure. Let's say someone is really worried about the policies that might affect marginalized communities. Instead of focusing on the fear of what might happen, you can shift your focus to the feeling of security and well-being that you want for yourself and for those communities. Then you can start thinking about actions that align with that energy, whether it's volunteering, donating to organizations you believe in, or even just having kind and open conversations with people who see things differently.
So it's not about just accepting things. It's more like taking our energy and using it to create the change we want to see, even when things feel really tough.
You got it. And that's where personal power comes in. There's this one clip where Abraham Hicks says, you are such powerful beings. You have as much power as the president of this nation for the controlling of your life experience. Your government is not the vortex through which your well-being flows.
Whoa, okay. That's a big statement. It kind of goes against, the idea that how happy we are depends on whoever's in charge.
It does, doesn't it? And it's this powerful reminder that even though what's happening outside of us affects our lives, our true power comes from inside. Our ability to choose what we think, what we feel, and what we do.
So we're not ignoring politics or pretending everything's fine, but we're also realizing that we always have a choice in how we react, how we show up, and how we help create a world that matches our values.
Exactly. And that's where this whole inner being thing comes into play.
Okay. Now that's something I hear a lot with Abraham Hicks, but it can seem a little out there. Can you explain what they mean by that?
Yeah, when Abraham Hicks says inner being, they're talking about that wise, loving, powerful part of us that's always there. It's like the part of us that's connected to everything, to source energy, to like infinite intelligence, to that flow of well-being.
So it's kind of like tuning into our inner compass, that wise voice that's always guiding us towards what's best for us, even when the world feels crazy.
Exactly. And the more we work on that connection with our inner being, the easier it is to deal with hard stuff. Because we're tapping into like a deeper source of wisdom and strength and clarity.
I like that. It's like we have this well of peace and power inside us.
Yeah.
And it's always there no matter what's going on in the world outside.
Exactly. And the key to getting to that well is alignment. When our thoughts and feelings and actions all line up with the energy of our inner being, things just flow so much better.
So how do we actually do that? How do we get in alignment with this inner being, especially when it feels like the world is pulling us in the opposite direction?
Well, that's where Abraham Hicks' tools and techniques come in. They offer all these ways to shift our energy, boost those positive emotions, and get in sync with that well-being vibe.
Okay, I definitely want to get into those tools. But first, can we go back to something you said earlier about choosing how we feel? It sounds good, But how do we actually do that when it feels like how we feel is controlled by what's happening around us?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of what Abraham Hicks teaches. They say our emotions, they're not just reactions to what's going on, they're actually vibrations we're sending out. And the key is to be aware of those vibrations and create them consciously.
So instead of being like on this emotional roller coaster, we're the ones driving, choosing where we want to go.
Exactly. Now, it's not about ignoring or pushing down our emotions. If you're sad, angry, disappointed, let yourself feel those things. Don't get stuck there, though. Remember, you have the power to choose a different vibration. Focus on things that make you feel good, even if it's just for a few minutes.
It's like we're working out a muscle, a muscle for emotional resilience. We can feel our emotions, but we don't let them control us.
Exactly. And the more we do it, the easier it gets to bounce back from the hard stuff and get back to feeling good.
This is really interesting. I know we have so much more to cover, so let's jump into those tools that Abraham Hicks talks about, the ones that help us shift our energy and get in tune with our inner being. What's first?
Well, one of the simplest but most powerful tools is appreciation.
Appreciation.
Yeah.
Like being grateful, making one of those gratitude lists.
Yeah, it's like that, but Abraham Hicks goes a little further. They say appreciation is a vibration, an actual frequency. And when we tune into it, we literally change our energy.
Okay, so it's not just thinking, oh, I'm grateful for this comfy chair. It's more about really feeling that appreciation.
Right. It's about finding things to appreciate, doesn't matter how big or small, and letting yourself feel it. Could be the sun on your skin or birds singing, even just the taste of your coffee.
So it's about noticing and enjoying those little things that we usually don't even think about.
Exactly. And when we do that, when appreciation becomes a habit, our whole vibration changes.
That-
And we start attracting more things that match that, more things to feel good about.
It's like we're rewiring our brains to see the positive, the good stuff that's already there.
Yeah. And that shift, going from focusing on what we lack to focusing on what we have, that can really change how we feel and even how our life goes.
I know another tool that Abraham Hicks talks about is affirmations. How do those fit into all this? Shifting our vibration and getting in tune with our inner being.
Affirmations are a powerful way to, well, kind of reprogram our subconscious mind. Our subconscious is like this giant computer, and it's constantly running programs based on what we've experienced and what we believe.
Right, so if we've got a lot of negative beliefs, those can keep messing things up for us, even if we want something different.
Exactly. That's where affirmations come in. We repeat positive statements that are in line with what we want, and we start to overwrite those old programs. We put in new ones that support our growth and well-being.
So it's like we're choosing what software we want our mind to run.
That's a great way to put it. And the more we repeat those affirmations with feeling, really meaning them, the more they sink in, become part of us, and then they start to show up in our life.
Okay, let's say someone is feeling really down, powerless after this election. What kind of affirmations could help them?
Well, instead of thinking, this is hopeless, or nothing I do matters, they could try something like, I am powerful, I create my own reality. Or maybe, I trust that a better future is coming. Or even, I am connected to love and well-being, and I attract things that match that.
I like those. They're really positive and hopeful. And they remind us that even when things are tough, we still have choices about what we think and feel, and ultimately what we experience in life.
Yes, exactly. It's all about remembering that we're not just victims of what's happening around us. We're actually active participants in creating our world.
Now, I know Abraham Hicks also talks about allowing. What does that mean? And how does it help us deal with challenging times?
Allowing is about, well, surrendering to how life is unfolding. It's trusting that even when things don't go our way, there's something bigger guiding us toward what's best for us.
So we let go of needing to control everything, and we have faith that things are happening as they should, even when we don't get it.
Exactly. It's not easy, especially when things are scary or uncertain. But the more we allow, the more open we are to receiving guidance from our inner being.
It's like we're saying to the universe, okay, I trust you. I know you've got my back, even if I don't see the whole picture right now.
You got it. And that trust, that surrender, it can be so freeing. We can let go of all the worry and anxiety and just move through life with more grace and ease.
In the forum posts you shared, a lot of people mentioned feeling overwhelmed by all the negativity and division in the world right now. It's not just politics, it's like everywhere. What does Abraham Hicks say about dealing with that kind of collective energy?
It's a great question, and yes, so many people feel that way. Abraham Hicks emphasizes that we're all connected, and our individual vibrations all contribute to the energy of the world.
So it's like we're all little drops in the ocean, and every single drop affects how the water is.
Exactly. And when more people choose to be in alignment with well-being, the whole world shifts in a more positive direction. So even when it feels like things are going crazy and negative, remember, you can be a light, a source of positivity that actually helps shift things.
That's so powerful. It means even if we feel small and insignificant, choosing love, kindness, well-being, those choices actually make a difference.
They really do. And one of the most powerful things we can do is choose to feel good. Remember, feeling good isn't selfish, it's a gift to the world.
Hmm.
When you feel good, you radiate a higher frequency that affects everyone around you.
It's like we're each a tuning fork. And when we vibrate at a higher frequency, we help the whole orchestra play better.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to describe it. It shows how connected everything is and how our individual choices matter.
So far, we've been talking about this inner work, aligning with our inner being and shifting our vibration. But what about the outside world? How does Abraham Hicks suggest we interact with people who have different views, especially in a time when politics feels so charged?
That's a great question. It takes both compassion and being smart. Abraham Hicks says to come from a place of understanding, to remember that everyone is on their own journey and their beliefs show where they are on that path.
So we respect their right to have their own beliefs, even if we don't agree.
Right. And we also set boundaries, protect our own energy. We don't have to argue or try to change anyone's mind. Sometimes the most powerful thing is to just listen to their perspective without judgment.
It's like creating a space of love and acceptance, where different views can exist without turning into conflict.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, even when we disagree, there's always something we can agree on. Focus on those shared values, on our humanity, on wanting peace and well-being. We all want that.
So instead of getting caught up in this us versus them thing that's everywhere, we can remember that we're all part of the same human family. We each have our own view, but we're all connected and we're all trying to make things better.
Exactly. Shifting from that feeling of separation to unity can be really powerful for each of us and for the world as a whole.
A lot of people also feel helpless and overwhelmed when they think about global problems like climate change, the economy, and injustice. What does Abraham Hicks have to say about dealing with those kinds of big issues?
The most important thing is to remember our energy is strongest when it's focused on what we want, not what we don't want. So instead of getting lost in the fear and despair about these global problems, we can choose to focus on the solutions, on the positive changes that are possible.
So instead of feeling paralyzed by how huge these problems are, we focus our energy on creating the world we want.
That's it. And that doesn't mean we have to solve all the problems ourselves. It's about realizing that even small acts of kindness, compassion, making conscious choices, these things can create a ripple effect of positive change.
It's like we're each planting seeds of hope and possibility. And as those seeds grow, they make the world more beautiful and alive for everyone.
I love that image. It shows that even in darkness, there's always light, always hope, always the possibility of things getting better.
Now, we've talked a lot about positive thinking and being aligned with well-being, but what about those times when we feel negative emotions, like fear, sadness, or anger? How do we deal with those?
It's a great question. It's important to remember that negative emotions are just part of being human. It's how we deal with and learn from things. Abraham Hicks doesn't say to suppress or deny those feelings, but to acknowledge them, let ourselves feel them, and then gently guide ourselves back to feeling better.
So we're not pretending everything's great all the time. It's more like having a good relationship with our emotions, both positive and negative.
Yes, it's like our emotions are like waves in the ocean. They come and go, they rise and fall, but the ocean is still there, vast and expansive, holding and transforming all of our experiences.
So how do we actually transform those negative emotions? Are there any specific tools or techniques from Abraham Hicks that we can use?
One powerful tool is to just shift our focus. Remember that principle we talked about, energy flows where attention goes? If we're feeling stuck in negativity, we can choose to focus on something that feels better.
So instead of dwelling on the bad stuff, we consciously choose to think about things, do things, experience things that lift our mood.
Exactly.